Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. Monterey One Water Recycle Water Committee, October 17th, 2024. First item of business, roll call.
Veranda,
Here.
Castroville,
Here.
Seaside,
Here.
Seaside,
Here. Hear me?
Can you hear us, Alexis?
Can you hear me?
I think he hasn't joined audio yet, or there's a little icon down in the bottom left.
Can you guys hear me?
But I don't know whether that applies to us or him.
Can you hear me? Hello.
Can you hear me? I can hear you, Tyler.
I can hear you too.
you're talking about this one.
Yeah, the click to join audio.
That's what gives me the.
So Alexis, for some reason, we can't hear you.
Alexis, would you mind logging off and logging back on?
Can
Yeah.
you guys hear us now?
You mean?
I don't think you can hear us either.
I can hear you.
He can
hear
hear
you.
us.
Okay,
We can hear
good.
you.
Aren't these young folks supposed to be able to figure out this IT stuff just like that?
Okay, can you hear me again?
Monterey,
All right, Ben.
Here? Here?
You're here?
I'm here. I'm
Marina
pressed.
Coast,
Here.
Okay, can you hear us, Tyler?
Yes. Can you hear
We
me?
can't hear you though.
You can't hear me.
try again. Oh,
Testing. Can you hear me? Jim, why don't you try? Maybe it's
How's
just
your sign language, Tyler?
A, B, C, D, E,
Awesome.
F.
Can you hear me now?
No, I can hear you.
So Izzy was just checking to something.
I can't turn my camera on.
Alexis is back on. He's just logging on.
Having some technical difficulties today.
What if I join on my phone? Let me join on my phone.
I think it's an issue at the boardroom. I'm also on Zoom and I can hear everyone, but they can hear us at the boardroom. This is Johanna.
At least Jim can hear us, right? Can you all hear me now? All right, bet.
Okay, so they can hear him on Zoom. If you're virtual, you can hear him, but in this room, we can't hear him.
That's weird. I'm on here twice.
That's,
Listen to him now.
this happens. If I do click join audio,
We'll probably get all kinds
it's
of
this.
feedback.
We're not hearing you.
Oh, yeah, that's
me?
possible.
This happens.
Yeah.
So we don't do that because then that happens. But what if we have Tyler, we can't hear you either? Is that right?
No. Yeah, I can hear you, but you can't hear me.
We can hear you.
Now we can
Yeah,
hear
now
you.
we can hear
Alexis,
you.
can you do
Oh.
one more mic check?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, can you turn it up?
Sound like you're in a tunnel, but we can hear you.
Hey, being in a tunnel is better than being on the other side of the world.
And I think everyone else can hear
Okay.
Can you
the
turn my
participants
camera on?
online.
Can my
Yeah.
camera please turn on?
Yeah. Move on.
Okay.
Do we have any additions to the agenda?
No additions.
Nothing from staff, anything from committee members? No.
Move approval of the agenda.
Okay.
Second.
Second. Have any public discussion on our agenda? Hearing none, I guess we'll have to take a roll call vote.
Veranda,
Yes.
Castroville,
Yes.
Seaside,
Yes.
Monterey,
Yes.
Marina Coast.
Yes.
Motion
Sorry.
carries unanimously.
Did we do,
Yeah, we can barely hear you.
did we finish roll call? Because I didn't do my statement
We're just gonna
Oh.
limit you to yes or no.
He needs to.
for the remote participation statement.
Yeah, either. Yeah.
So Tyler's participating using a Just Cause. Him and Alexis are traveling on business for their respective cities,
Okay,
and they're gonna announce why they're virtual. Okay.
So I'll jump in. I guess I'll go. I'm participating in today's meeting remotely under recent amendments to the Brown Act due to the official business travel on behalf of the city of Monterey that prevents me from participating in person. There is not someone 18 or older in the room with me. And I think that's it.
I'm also participating in today's meeting remotely under recent amendments to the Brown Act due to official business travel on behalf of the city of Seaside that prevents me from participating in person. There is not someone 18 or older in the room with me. And can my camera please be turned on?
all right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for taking the time to attend the meeting. Move on, public comments. Now's the time for public comments on anything not on today's agenda. Seeing none. Move on to item 6, consider approval of recycle water committee minutes of September 23rd.
I wasn't here.
Hmm?
I wasn't here.
You weren't here.
I wasn't here.
You wasn't here.
Call for a motion.
Yeah, we'll call for a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and second. Tyler and Alexis. Any comments from the public? None? Okay, go ahead and roll call vote.
Veranda,
Abstain?
Castroville,
Yes.
Seaside,
Yes.
Monterey,
Yes.
Marina Coast.
Abstain.
Motion carries 3 yes, 2 abstentions.
Okay, great. Move on to item number 7. Consider recommending award a contract to Eurofins Eaton Analytic for AWPF contracted laboratory testing. We have our new employee.
Good afternoon, Chairman Stefani and members of the committee. My name is Olivia Woolery. I'm the interim laboratory supervisor at Monterey One Water. Laboratory testing services for various Title 22 drinking water panels related to the operation of the Advanced Water Purification Facility and Injection Well Facility are required to comply with Monterey One Water's NPDES permit. Regulatory groundwater monitoring is required on a monthly, quarterly, and annually basis, depending on parameters. Monterey Bay Analytical Services was our contract laboratory. However, they chose not to renew the contract after the May 2024 sampling event. On September 12th, 2024, staff issued a request for proposal for laboratory testing services commencing on November 1st, 2024, and ending on June 30th, 2025. Representing 3/4 of sampling events. We received proposals from 2 laboratories, Eurofins Eaton Analytical and WEC Laboratories. Both proposals were evaluated by a review team comprised of 2 Monterey One Water staff members representing the laboratory department. The evaluation was based on the following criteria: qualifications, 30%, work plan, 20%, fees, 40%, and quality of the proposal, 10%. Eurofins' proposal received the highest overall scores. Eurofins will be subcontracting a portion of the analyses to Monterey Bay Analytical Services who will be able to provide additional support for bottle delivery and sample shipment. This agreement has the option for 4 one-year contract extensions at Monterey One Water's discretion and would be based on 4 quarters of sampling events with cost prorated. Staff requests that the Recycled Water Committee recommend that the board award advanced water purification and injection well facility contracted laboratory testing services for various Title 22 drinking water panels to Eurofins in the not to exceed amount of $176,793, which includes a 10% contingency for additional tests when warranted. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Good job, Olivia. Questions from directors? Any questions on Zoom there? Nothing, Alexis?
No, sir.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and second. Do we have any comments from the public on this item? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote.
Veranda,
Yes.
Castroville,
Yes?
Seaside,
Aye.
Monterey. Monterey,
You're muted.
Yes.
Marina Coast.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Move on, item 8, approval of contract with PG&E for an electrical service upgrade. You're up.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. I come before you today with an item for consideration. That item is an upgrade of electrical service for the Seaside Pump Station. This is connected to the CP 331 pump station upgrades, Seaside Pump Station upgrades project, which is coupled with CP 330, the Monterey Pump Station upgrades project. Staff's been working with Carollo engineers and their sub-electrical engineering consultant TJC since about 2022 on the design of the pump station upgrades project. The project includes replacement and rehab of a large percentage of the mechanical and electrical facilities at both of those pump stations. Part of those electrical upgrades are pretty much an overhaul of the PG&E electrical service that's primary and secondary distribution at both pump stations. The project plans, while in design, we submitted the 90% project plans to PG&E because you try to get a head start on these applications. You don't want to finish the project, put it out to bid, and then remember that you have to get PG&E on board with these significant upgrades. So PG&E was provided with the draft plans and then subsequently the finished design for these projects, giving them ample time to determine the requirements and the scope, and then provided a design and a contract for the electrical upgrades. With that, PG&E did provide a contract for design services and installation of the new equipment associated with these upgrades, all the way up to their side of the meter for Seaside Pump Station. The cost of this contract is covered in the CP 331 budget for this fiscal year. Again, that's the Seaside Pump Station upgrades portion of the overall project. And with that, staff would recommend to the RWC to recommend that the board approve a contract with PG&E for electrical service upgrade for the CP 331 Seaside Pump Station upgrade project in the not to exceed amount of $288,515 dollars and 10 cents.
Tom,
Questions?
comments from the directors? No? Anything from directors on the line?
I actually have one.
Okay, go ahead.
So on front, the billing on PG&E with has the listing of engineering. A lot of times not as big as this project, but in some of these projects, they'll set you up on a program either to like a payment deal or you pay over time.
Correct.
Is that the same with this or?
This one is a little different because it's an upgrade to an existing service. I think I'm familiar with the types of contracts you're talking about. Typically with a new service, a brand new service, like let's
Right.
say for the injection wells, or for a Blanco drain Blanco drain pump station where there wasn't previously any service. PG&E gives you a couple different options to pay that off, because PG&E does an analysis that says, well, gosh, we don't have any electrical service in this area. So by virtue of the fact that Monterey One Water wants to do this project, let's estimate our PG&E's potential to get new customers and generate new revenue as a result of this new connection. So they kind of give you the option to say, well, we'll give you 50% off it from the get-go, but we also have an estimate of what our long-term additional revenues might be. So in those cases, we usually would take the conservative amount and just pay for the project and not be on the hook for what their future revenues might be.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Tyler, you have something? Tyler, nothing? Okay. How about the public? Take it out to the public. No comments there. Okay, bring it back to the board for action.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call vote, please.
Baronda,
Yes.
Castroville,
Yes.
Seaside,
Aye.
Monterey,
Yes.
Marina Coast.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Move on to item 9. Consider recommending approval of the third contract amendment with Telstar Instruments.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. I'm David Bradley, Operations Supervisor, Monterey One Water. Monterey One Water uses an annual chlorine maintenance contract for the Salinas Valley Reclamation Project and Salinas River Diversion Facility to make repairs and complete required maintenance. Telstar Instruments, Inc. was awarded a 2-year contract in June of 2020 with 3 1-year extensions based on contractor performance, with an increase based off of the San Francisco PPI, which currently came in at 3.2%. M1W exercised the first-year extension in 2022 and the second 1-year extension in 2023. Telstar's performance has continued to be outstanding, meeting all objectives. Telstar has agreed to the proposed 3.2% increase for the last 1-year extension option. Staff asked that the Recycle Water Committee recommend that the board approve a third contract amendment extension, the third amendment to the annual chlorine maintenance contract to Telstar Inc. in the not to exceed amount of $133,810.94. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, David. Questions? Directors? Nothing? Okay, anything on line? No questions? Okay, we'll take it out to the public. Any comments on this? Or questions from the public? Seeing none, we'll take it back to the board for action.
Move for approval.
Second.
We got a motion to second. We'll take a roll call vote.
Baronda,
Yes.
Castroville,
Yes.
Seaside,
Aye.
Monterey,
Yes.
Marina Coast.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, thank you. Move on to item 10.
Good afternoon, Chair Stefani, members of the committee. I'm Allison Imamura, Principal Engineer. In this item, I'm requesting a recommendation for the board to approve a professional services agreement with Kennedy Jenks Consultants for engineering services to design and bid the Advanced Water Purification Facility Switchgear Replacement Project. Briefly, as a reminder, the AWPF's medium voltage switchgear failed in October of 2022. After internal staff and consultant review, M1W approved the purchase of an integrated prefabricated building that includes new switchgear assemblies. In June 2023, the board approved the purchase of the switchgear assembly. In September, we published an RFP for engineering design services. We've received only one proposal. It was from Kennedy Jenks Consultants, who's been our design consultant for the AWPF for the past 10 years almost. A committee found the team to be suitably qualified and the proposal met our needs. I will likely be coming back to the board early next year for an additional amendment to their contract for engineering services during construction and also to issue a construction contract because the switchgear assembly is scheduled to arrive at our facility in March. The fiscal impacts are that the expenses are allocated in Department 58 budget. I am asking for a budget adjustment form approval to move the Department 58 budget into this capital project budget. And with that, I recommend I'm asking for a recommendation from the Recycle Water Committee for the board to award a professional services agreement to Kennedy Jenks Consultants to provide engineering service for the Advanced Water Purification Facility switchgear replacement project in the not to exceed amount of $225,545. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Allison. Questions?
I have a question, Chair.
Oh,
Go ahead to.
go ahead.
Just a clarification. So this bid is for pretty much the design, and then the construction will come back separately. Why aren't we looking at them all together as one proposal?
So we're going to be doing this project as a design bid build, our traditional method of delivering projects. Currently, we have the pre-procured equipment arriving in March. So we want to be able to be prepared for that arrival. And so issuing this design contract will get us ready to have that site ready for when the equipment is delivered, we hope.
So is it fair to say, and this is just for me trying to understand how this all works. So is it fair to say that by doing the design, it helps determine what we're going to be putting out for the bid in regards to the construction?
That's exactly right. We
Perfect.
want to have a very accurate set of bid documents, plans, and specifications. And the site is going to be a site immediately adjacent to the existing switchgear. It has very sandy soils, and so we wanted to make sure we have a geotech and a survey done already that will inform the design. And then we want to make sure that we have the proper design parameters for the contractor when they come, when we ask for bids from contractors, we know exactly what is needed for their construction.
Perfect. Thank you, Allison. Appreciate you.
Mhm.
Any other questions and comments? Take it back to the board for action.
Move approval.
Second.
Spending money like crazy here. Okay, roll call, please.
Rhonda,
Yes.
Castroville,
Yes.
Seaside, Monterey,
Yes.
Marina Coast.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Move on to item 11. Consider recommending approval of amendment to energy services agreement with Energia Technologies. Better
That's correct.
take care of that.
Yeah, that's correct. Energia,
Energia.
like anaerobic digesters. All right. So good afternoon, committee members. I'm Director of Engineering, Matt Thompson. Last year, Monterey One Water entered an energy services agreement with Energia to design, supply, and install a food waste receiving station and more efficient mixers in the anaerobic digesters at the regional treatment plant. This will enable us to receive tanker trucks of food waste, digest it with sludge, and produce much more biogas. This project is in construction and will be completed by March of 2025. CalRecycle awarded Monterey One Water a $4.2 million grant for this project. The grant requires Monterey One Water to begin receiving food waste as soon as the new receiving station and mixers are complete and operational. Professional procurement of food waste is needed to ensure we fulfill the grant requirements and maximize production of biogas. The food waste must be procured from a variety of sources across throughout Central and Northern California. We do not have experience with procurement of food waste and do not have additional manpower needed to operate the food waste receiving station. Energia established the first food waste co-digestion facilities in California and has unique experience with procurement and management of food waste. Energia understands what quality of food waste is needed to protect the anaerobic digesters and maximize production of biogas. Earlier this year, we requested Energia submit a proposal to provide food waste procurement and management services, as well as operation services for the new food waste receiving station. After negotiations, I am now recommending approval of an amendment to our agreement with Energia. Per the amendment, Energia will deploy a team of professionals to procure and manage food waste for a period of 3 years for up to $623,340 per year, plus annual increases based on the Consumer Price Index. They will provide attendance to operate the new food waste receiving station for 3 years for up to $136,800 per year. And they will establish appropriate tipping fees for disposal of food waste. They're going to collect that tipping fee revenue and then convey all of that tipping fee revenue to Monterey One Water. Energia is the only known vendor to provide these specialized services. So staff is recommending approval of this procurement under the sole source provisions of our procurement manual. The cost of these services will be offset by the new tipping fee revenues for receiving food waste. This new service will enable Monterey One Water to produce much more biogas, which should have a positive fiscal impact to Monterey One Water in the future. More engineering work is needed to determine how to best utilize the biogas, and that is the subject of the next agenda item. So with that, I recommend approval for the general manager to execute an amendment to the energy services agreement with Energia to provide food waste procurement, management, and operation services for an amount not to exceed $760,140 per year, plus annual increases based on the Consumer Price Index for a period of 3 years, with an option to extend up to 2 additional years. Thank you. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Matt. It's a good report. Very exciting.
So in terms of does Energia, do they go out and they deal with the potential customers as well? And
Yes.
and they manage those contracts.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes, they're going to actively go out throughout the region to find the sources of this food waste slurry and hopefully find the best sources that have the most potential to produce biogas and which do not bring in too much trash into the anaerobic digesters.
And have they notion that there is a lot of demand for this service at this point?
This is in fact being driven by a regulatory requirement. The state of California doesn't want communities to put organic waste into landfills anymore. That's Senate Bill 1383. And so Senate Bill 1383 is driving agencies like ours to do this co-digestion of food waste in existing wastewater treatment plants. And so yes, that is creating demand for this service.
And Kent, we actually, I think I mentioned this at the last board meeting, we went and saw 2 facilities in Southern California, sister agencies that are doing this and have Energia supplying. Now, obviously, these were sort of in the San Bernardino County area, and they're established there, but both are the GMs there were saying it's sort of the way to do it because Energia knows the market and how to be attendants to get that food slurry into the digesters. So it's consistent with what others are doing, and there certainly is a market now and probably will increase in the future. We'll still be having discussions with Regen, as we talked about, 2 years ago. Hence the reason this is a 3-year contract with a 2-year adder if need be, so we can hopefully move to more local as well.
So if Energia is the only current entity providing the service, and of course there could be future entrants, but if they're currently the only one and they are providing this service to other agencies, at some point, there's going to be a finite amount of food waste. How do we ensure that we're getting our fair share or maybe a
It's in the
better than fair
contract.
share?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
This is part of that management service that Energia will provide. You know, our plant already receives liquid food waste, septage, portable toilets, et cetera. We have a fixed established rate for tipping fees. With food waste, it's a little bit different. It's more of like a spot market where they're going to have to look at the sources and how long the haul is to bring it to us. And they're going to have flexibility to adjust those tipping fees as needed so that our operation remains competitive. Okay. So that's one of the ways that Energia will help ensure that. We also have a performance provision in this amendment to the energy services agreement that requires the tipping fee revenue that Energia brings in for this food waste receiving to exceed the cost of these services within 18 months. We want to give them a reasonable amount of time to stand up the service and start bringing in this food waste. But Energia has committed to ensuring we get adequate flow of material. I will, if I can add one more thing, the Cal Recycle grant requires us to bring in a minimum of about 31,000 tons of food waste per year. Energia has set a target to bring in about 50,000 tons per year. So,
But to your question, how do we know we're going to get our fair share or whatever we need? There are performance requirements within the agreement of how many gallons per day and trucks per day and things like that to make sure that we have metrics in which to measure against.
Okay, thank you.
Plus at some of our earliest meetings of the regen, we did a study, right? And the study went out and identified that it's out there. We just need to go get it.
Yes. Yeah. There was in a 50-mile radius, there was hundreds of thousands of.
Yeah. I mean, if you think of the nature of this area, we grow food.
Yeah.
And so naturally there's some waste that comes off of the, processing of local food sources.
Might
So
get
there's
into
great
this
potential in this.
Discussions with Keith Day. I mean,
That's
yesterday a full semi truck, Keith Day truck was heading from Castroville to the dump. And I passed it and I could smell exactly what was in it.
They will be talking to all potential customers, including Keith Day and Regen.
Right. Tyler, Alexis, you guys got anything? Questions, comments? Okay, how about from the public? Nothing from the public? Okay, bring it back to the board for action.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and second. Let's take a roll call vote.
Veranda,
Yes.
Castroville,
Yes.
Seaside,
Aye.
Monterey,
Yes.
Marina Coast.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Move on to item 12.
All right. Good afternoon again, committee members. Again, it's Matt Thompson, Director of Engineering. You will recall back in April, this committee and board received a renewable energy and electrical reliability study. That study had recommended a series of projects to expand production of renewable energy and improve electrical reliability at our treatment plants. One of the projects identified in the study is called the digester gas handling and heating improvements. This project will enable us to better utilize the additional biogas we will produce when we begin receiving food waste for digestion at the regional treatment plant in early 2025. In June, this committee and board approved a new budget, which included an $18 million line item for the digester gas handling and heating improvements. Since then, your staff has solicited proposals from professional engineering firms to prepare the plans, specifications, and estimates for the digester gas handling and heating improvements. We've had a lot of interest from the engineering community in this project. We initially received qualification statements from 9 different engineering firms. Our selection committee then reduced that to the 3 most qualified firms, which we invited to submit full proposals. After review of the proposals, the consensus of our selection committee is that Black & Veatch is the most qualified for this project. Black & Veatch is a large employee-owned firm with a reputation for high-quality engineering services. They have excellent mechanical engineers and good waste-to-energy experience, which makes them a good fit for this particular project. As we have moved through the selection process, our thinking on how to best utilize the biogas has evolved. We now have clarity that upgrading the biogas to high-quality renewable natural gas for injection into the PG&E pipeline would be very beneficial to our agency. New revenue from sales of renewable natural gas and associated credits would pay back the cost of this infrastructure, this new infrastructure, within a few short years. But we want to balance this benefit with our need to self-generate reliable electrical power. Black & Veatch's scope of work includes a series of tasks that will lead our agency to the highest and best use of the valuable biogas. First, they will prepare a biogas utilization alternatives analysis. This will help quantify the benefits of renewable natural gas upgrading versus self-generation of electrical power, or the combination of the both. Next, Black & Veatch will prepare plans, specifications, and estimates for new digester gas piping, replacement of our waste gas flare, installation of a new gas conditioning system, and renewable natural gas upgrading and pipeline injection system, replacement of our old steam boiler and a new hot water boiler and replacement of our old steam heating piping with more simple water heating pipe. With this new infrastructure in place, we'll be in a good position to replace our old cogeneration system with modern power generation technology in the future. Black & Veatch's fee for these engineering services is $2,012,071. Black & Veatch is prepared to begin work soon after board approval. The engineering work will require about 13 months, so the plans and specifications should be ready to advertise for construction bids by the end of 2025. This project is a continuation of the renewable energy program that we began when we hired Energia in 2023 to install the new food waste receiving station and digester mixers. So this project should be eligible for the federal investment tax credit, which is like a grant for up to 40% of the total project costs. I recommend we move ahead with this project by recommending to the board that we approve entering a professional services agreement with Black & Veatch for an amount not to exceed $2,012,071. That's all for me. I'm glad to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Hey, Matt, isn't it $701?
I'm sorry, did I get that number wrong?
I just want to make sure we get it right on the record.
It's $2,012,071.
701 is on the
Left the zero
staff
behind.
report at least.
Unless we had a typo.
Let me amend my oral presentation. It's what's in the staff report. Okay, I apologize. Yes, it's that $701 amount. Thank you, Paul.
No worries.
All right. Questions, comments for Matt? Tyler, you got your hand up or no?
I didn't, but I do have a question. So you had mentioned that it's likely eligible for the federal investment tax credit. What does that look like? What are the chances that we actually get the tax credit?
Yeah, the way the investment tax credit works is that you have to incur the costs first, and then you have to seek reimbursement for the portion of those costs from the Internal Revenue Service after you incur the costs. We have received advice from a professional tax consultant, which has suggested that because this project is a continuation of the renewable energy program that we began prior to the end of this calendar year, that their read of the investment tax credit program is that Monterey One Water would be eligible for a grant, a credit that's like a grant for up to 30 or 40% of the project costs. Now, whether it's 30 or 40% will depend on basically whether the equipment we purchase is American made or not. So we're going to do our best to make sure we're only purchasing American made equipment and do our best to maximize the amount of that credit.
So Tyler, it looks like we would be eligible, but certainly if and when we come back to you, that 30 to 40% is the upper level. It very well could be 20. There's a number of criteria that one has to meet to get the tax credit. And our consultant, which we hired earlier this year, we didn't hire it earlier this year. Oh, the agreement. Oh, my bad. The consultant, which we will hire, will help guide us towards that. But please understand that 30, 40% is an upper limit. So don't be surprised if it comes in lower than that in the future.
I have a question now. Sorry.
Great.
Are you done, Tyler? So we heard 40 first, then we heard 30. Now we're hearing 20. What's the lowest we can calculate reimbursement for, and what are we aiming for?
That's a great question, Alexis. I'll say Rachel or Mike, can you come up to the mic and say what the range that is advertised is? And then in terms of what we're shooting for, Alexis, and we need to get through design to understand what we can buy that's American and not, and we'll have a better understanding of what that upper end is we're shooting for. But there's certainly a range that I think Mike and Rachel are trying to find right now. And I think we may want to adjust the staff report to have the range so there's not the expectation that 40 is where we're going to be at.
Yeah, it's definitely a range based on certain criteria you hit as they've described. The other element as we're looking into the lower range, just as a reminder, this came to us through some of the bipartisan infrastructure law that occurred under the Biden-Harris administration. So there, just as you're thinking about this and planning, you know, and we always say we never count on grants until the dollars are in our account. This is something that you want to consider in the same way. It's a little bit harder to revoke tax code, but there is a possibility that moving forward, if you're under a new administration, which either way, right, we're going to be under new administration, that these regulations and these laws could change and the availability of this funding could change. Have I stalled enough, Mike?
What's the range? Just what do you
I would say
remember?
10 to 40.
10 to 40. That's
Yeah.
what I was going to say. It's
So this is the same benefit that we receive with the digester, the co-digestion for the mixing when Energia first came on board. And we had said 40%, and then we went that it was up to 40%. And Gary Darling was pretty confident we would get that, but there was the 10% depending on if you were purchasing American made. So we're anticipating that much for the mixing system that we did, and this is very similar to that.
So there's also apprenticeship requirements to get up to the 40%. So part of it is doing everything a contractor can do to make you eligible on their end to meet the 40%. And then there's other kind of employment requirements that the federal government is asking that further get you up to that 40%. And the starting is actually 6%. 6 to 40%.
so Alexis, does that answer your question? The 6 to 40,
Yeah.
and with the magnitude of this project, we'll get a better cost estimate as it is designed. But I'm sure it's in the $30 million range. So you're looking at a tax credit of 1.8 million at the lower end, and obviously something greater than that. So, which we are hoping for.
Thank you. That definitely does help. I was just wanting some clarification because we did start at 40 and then we started going lower and I was like, okay, where are we heading, you know? But thank you. That does answer my question.
Okay. And we'll reflect that in the staff report for the full board.
Okay. Public comment on this item. Is there any? Don't see any. Bring it back to the board for action.
Move for approval.
Second.
Alexis is on a second. All right. A roll call vote.
Rhonda,
Yes.
Castroville,
Yes.
Seaside,
Aye.
Monterey,
Yes.
Marina Coast.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Move on to staff reports.
I have nothing. Tammy, Matt, anything? Rachel? What? I was gonna mention it, but okay. So we did have a good discussion today. Rachel and Mike set up a meeting with EPA for people from Washington, specific to their WIFIA group. And we actually laid out a lot of what this last item was about in terms of the renewable natural gas, some generation of power that could go feed AWPF, and some electrical changes and microgrid at the treatment plant. The discussion surrounded, we have an existing WIFIA loan, as you well know, for expansion, but we have received a significant amount of grant funding. So there's some headspace in that loan. And after describing the project and the nexus to Pure Water Monterey, we asked for that excess in the loan, could we amend the contract to do maybe the generators and some of the electrical work to make this possible? And obviously it's not a done deal, but they thought, yeah, there is enough of a connection between the two that we should apply for an amendment to our WIFIA loan to be able to draw down those funds for this project. Obviously, that would extend the length of the loan, meaning I think it was supposed to close out at the end of 25. We're probably looking for a couple more years after that, but there's an opportunity with some existing funding that we could get some of this work done that is critical for the overall renewable energy goals of the agency and what we can accomplish with our biogas. So I was really pleased with the way it went. I think everyone from EPA was positive and actually thoughtful about it. Oftentimes, you go to these state or federal agencies and they're not quite as hopeful. So this was a good one. Rachel, you want to add into that?
I'll just add that, we mentioned this when Paul and I were back there in May, but I mean, they're like giddy about the concept of having renewable energy power recycled water. And we also happened to run into the deputy assistant administrator of the EPA as a whole a couple of weeks ago at a ribbon cutting event. And she too was extremely excited about the idea of funding this project and it becoming a case study that is replicable across the entire United States. So really energized, positive meeting. I think some opportunities that we, of course, will bring back to the board as they send us a checklist and different things on how we might be able to, what it would look like if we elected to modify that loan.
And to the questions on the investment tax credit, we did ask about that as well. And they said the loan would integrate with that, where we would use the loan, we would pay the contractor, could still submit to the feds for that tax credit on that amount. So,
and it would just come back on our side. It doesn't take away from what the federal government could loan us. It just comes right back into our account.
So we're going to continue working on all that. I mean, it's not, like I said, it's not a done deal. We need to get their requirements, submit an application for an amendment and move forward from there, but we'll see.
There Is there another $200,000 fee to apply for the amendment?
I don't think so. If we were to do a new loan, there would be.
Right.
But
right,
I
right.
don't think on the amendment. there
Yeah,
is.
not that they mentioned on the amendment. And I will tell you, if we ever do go for a WIFIA loan, of the state and federal processes we have pursued for loan and grant funding, WIFIA is the most efficient. When we went through it now a number of years ago, they described that process to us. It is even tighter now. So in terms of how quickly you can move from the letter of interest, so hey, WIFIA, we are interested in a loan. You submit your kind of project concept, they come back and say, yeah, now we approve you to submit an actual application. It is lightning speed compared to even where they were back in
Definitely.
2019 when we got our LOI approved. They have really tightened up their processes.
I have a quick item. I know that time is short. I wanted to remind you that we are in construction on the expansion of the Pure Water Monterey project. One of the permits that is required for us to be able to expand the use of that is a reissuance of the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit, the state permit, state and federal permit to discharge wastewater to Monterey Bay. That process is moving along very well. The state of California has released a draft permit for public comment. We are in the middle of that public comment period. That comment period closes October 28th. Your staff are actively reviewing it. So far, so good. It looks like the Water Board has incorporated nearly all of the refinements that our agency has requested. And it looks like there are no comments from third parties to suggest that this would be controversial in any way. We're headed towards a hearing before the Regional Water Quality Control Board in December, but it's looking very good. I just wanted to update you on that.
Time for board comments now.
Thanks for good work, staff. Appreciate it. Keep it up.
Exciting news, good work. Can't wait till we report it to the board. And with that, if there's nothing else, we'll call this meeting adjourned.